Well, it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. You have to have a real love for the animals, and you have to be an animal trainer. And of course, all the training methods we use nowadays, it's all affection training and rewards and a lot of love. And the main thing, I think, the real secret is that we make it so that it's fun for the cats. Like to the cats, it's not work; it's something fun that they get to do. And as a matter of fact, when it's time to go to work, they all are anxious to leave their habitat, and they're all ready to jump in the truck. And occasionally, if they get left behind, if we're switching out, different animals for a certain reason, the ones left behind always look sort of sad, like, oh, how come we didn't come to work today?
I presume they're your babies and you love them.
Exactly. All the animals, well, some were born in our breeding program, but most of the animals we get when they're very, very young, and then of course some are actually born in the breeding program, meaning from birth, we bond with them and start handling them and training them and kind of gently teach them and show them what we want them to do as they get bigger.
Are some better at it than others?
Well, exactly. I mean, the animals are individuals. I mean, certain animals are harder to train than others. For instance, the leopards and the black panthers, those are particularly tricky, a little more treacherous than the tigers and the lions. But yeah, just even with any specific species, some are more well suited to being in the show and some aren't. And if there are any animals that are not suited to be in the show, we don't force them to be in the show. We don't make them do anything that they don't want to do. And in addition, there are some tricks that are comfortable for certain animals, and they're comfortable to do certain tricks and illusions, and then other ones aren't suited to that. So we try to arrange everything so all the cats are happy and comfortable, and of course that also makes it safer for us handling the cats.
Now we're here at the Tropicana today, which is one of the most legendary resorts here in Las Vegas. Casinos, tigers, animals, they don't really go together. What happens backstage? Because they can't stay in cage for 24 hours to come and do the next show, can they?
No, actually what we do is we bring the animals in right before the show, and then right after the shows, we do 2 shows a day here at the Tropicana in the afternoons, and at the end of the show we take them away in special vehicles, air-conditioned vehicles, and then we take them back to the habitat where they live in beautiful environment and can just relax and chill out until it's time to go to work again.
And do you see them every day outside of the show?
Every single day, yeah. Every morning I'm up taking care of the cats and feeding and cleaning and kind of tending to their needs and training the new animals. So yeah, we're with them all the time basically.
And you're making your life difficult because you could come on here and just do what you do without them because it's spectacular enough. Why do you choose to keep the cats in the show?
I mean, I've always been one to love sort of a challenge. It definitely is a challenge to work with the big cats and also to work with them in entertainment and in magic and to handle them gently but also safely, and humanely. So it's a real challenge, but I'm a real animal lover. I love being around the cats. I love having the cats. And I don't know, it just, even though we have a lot of spectacular illusions that don't involve the cats, like the appearing helicopter and, big escapes and all that stuff, when a pure white snow tiger just pops out of thin air, you just can't beat the audience response. And that's what gets me excited when the audience responds and gets, they get excited, then I get excited.
Are there days when they don't want to perform, and how do you get out of that? Because if they don't want to do it, how does it work?
Well, there are some days if the cats, when they don't want to perform, but those would be days that we can usually determine that like at the beginning of the day. So if maybe they're a little under the weather or, for whatever reason they don't want to come into work. So we don't force them. We don't force them to do anything. And then we try to have several animals trained to fill in different positions. And if we actually have to, if we're at work and the cat is, not feeling well or doesn't want to perform, then we can always cut that part of the show. It's never really a problem. But most of the time they really love to do it. It's very easy for them. Their jobs, our part is complicated to make the illusions appear amazing and happen instantaneously. But to the animals, it's fairly simple. They have to maybe stand up at a certain time and eat a nice piece of steak, and then then they can lay down, take a nap until like the next part of the show, and then they transfer from one cage to another. And when they do, they eat another little piece of steak, and they stand up for a second. The audience applauds, and they take a nap. So that's pretty easy for them.
And how about you? I feel bad for you because you're coming in here 6 days a week doing 2 shows a day. It's an incredible schedule and you're doing it year after year after year and you still make it look like it's your first show. That's harder than it seems because this is a job, isn't it?
Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. That's a nice compliment. Well, it does wear you down just because of the schedule, the amount of time. But there is a lot of fun involved in what I get to do, and it is fun to, it's almost like I can still remain a little kid. I'm pretending to do miracles, and it's fun to see all the people laughing. And of course, I like to tell a lot of jokes and kid around with the animals. And I think too, because my show has a lot of variety in it, it keeps it entertaining for me. Like I might go through phases in my career where maybe I'm a little bored with maybe just doing the spectacular tricks. because sometimes those are easy for the performer once they're worked out, but then some things that are harder, perhaps like telling jokes or interacting with a tricky animal and telling jokes and communicating to the audience at the same time, that can be a challenge. So all those things I think keep it fresh, but I also think you have to make a concerted effort to not get bored, particularly for those times when you're in front of the audience, because I mean, they've paid money to see the show, and they want to see you at their best, and they deserve to see you, at your best, and to be a good performer. So that's part of my job too, is to keep it fresh.
And of course, pulling a rabbit out of a hat isn't big enough now. I saw a performer last year who's probably one of the most famous magicians in the world, and he really didn't do anything other than wave his arms, and then the technology took over. It's a fine balance, isn't it, between being spectacular and actually being a magician?
It is, and even when you're doing the large spectacular effects, you can't just walk around and gesture. You have to really be focused, and you sort of have to be that entity that transmits the idea that real illusions are taking place. And some of the great magicians in the past used to say that you had to almost believe that you're doing the magic, so that you can convey to the audience that it is real magic. At least for those moments, when they're witnessing it live.
And how do you go from being a kid with a toy box of magic tricks to getting a production show like this? And these tricks cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're not cheap. Why you?
It's just one of those things. I did it in the gradual way. I started with very small tricks when I was a little kid, and I just gradually added and expanded and made the show bigger and bigger. And I always kind of set my sights high. My dream was to always say headline, in Las Vegas at a major hotel, and here I am, at the Tropicana, with a big show. And I always dreamt of working with the big cats, but I never really thought I'd be able to do it. But just because I had that in the back of my mind, I think I was lucky, and kind of life dealt me good cards, and I was fortunate enough to work under some great masters of magic and some great animal trainers, and they kind of took me under their wing. So I've been pretty fortunate, but really just a lot of hard work, and you have to almost be obsessed with creating magic to be able to do what I do, I think.
And you are the luckiest man in Vegas. I'll tell you why. Because you've got the animals, and I love animals. I'm so fond of animals. And then you've got 4 showgirls who are just delicious.
Yes, everybody says that. All the guys after the show, they're like, I want your job. Yeah, no, that's one of the perks of the job, is I do get to work around a lot of beautiful women and beautiful animals. So it's pretty fun. You can't knock it. It's better than working in a factory, slaving away, sweating up with a bunch of blokes, as you would say.
Absolutely. And how's magic doing here in Vegas? Because these shows are expensive. Is it tough right now? Because I know a lot of shows are struggling. Is magic as popular as it was?
I think that it is, and I think even as you mentioned earlier, there are sometimes the exposure shows. Where you can, on television, they'll give away some of the tricks. But magic is, I would say, as popular as ever. And one thing that we do with our show, because it's family oriented, we keep the ticket price affordable. And as you saw today, we're great business, and everyone's packed audiences, and we're having a lot of fun. So we're glad that magic is still retaining its popularity.
Congratulations on being you, because this is a rarity in Vegas. It's a show that you can come and enjoy, and it is spectacular. And there's something mesmerizing about seeing big cats. I don't know what it is. It's just incredible. And the fact that you're able to get them to just take a piece of steak to be in your trick is still mind-boggling to me. I don't know how you do that. Congratulations.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. And it's a pleasure talking to you.
Dirk Arthur's here at the Tropicana, and I'll let you go now, because you must be exhausted. You've done 2 shows, and you've got another 2 to do tomorrow.
Yep, got to get back to work.
Thanks a lot.
My